Hi, my name is Sebrina Woodland, and I am a therapist here at Cache Valley Counseling. And I'm excited for the talk for today, which is about creating healthy routines and self care. I thought for me, I want to kind of focus on what that looks like for someone who is in my age group, kind of in the middle stage of life. Most of us are getting a little bit more aware of what we need and what works for us, but also tend to be so busy and distracted that it's hard to make time for healthy routines and especially for taking care of ourselves. So, this is going to be for me just as much as it is for you. So, hopefully, it's helpful. As we get into the topic and we talk about healthy routines, there's several categories in our lives that are important to tend to. One of them is psychological, another one is physical, spiritual, emotional, social. Those are the main categories. And so, as we think about what kind of routine could I have to take care of these needs, that can feel a little bit overwhelming. So there are some tips that I actually found online that I found to be really helpful. They're from the website Mental Health America, and so I'll refer to those as we talk some more. The first thing I wanted to say though is as we're thinking about this stuff, it's easy to feel like, oh, it's too hard to fit this in. This is just too much for me. And so, one thing that, especially at my age, I feel like I have earned the right to create routines that work for me. Um, I don't want to tell myself I need to go and do 40 minutes of plyometric exercise when I know my knee is going to be killing me afterwards and I'm going to have to ice it. So, taking care of myself means really taking care of my individual needs, my including my physical body. So, when we're talking about, for example, what do I want to build into my routine that will nourish me physically? Um, Healthy food, but healthy food that I want to eat. So I'm not a big broccoli eater, but I can build in to make sure I have full servings of salad, and build that into my routine. I'm at the stage where I'm less concerned about getting my body to um, peak athletic performance and more concerned at this point with longevity and enjoyment. So for me, I choose to do things like walk my dog in the canyon where it's beautiful. And at that point, I'm also able to attend to several needs at once. And this is one of the things I wanted to bring up. With busy people, um, it's easier if there are things that we can do that attend to several needs at once. So for me, I find that walking in the mountains with my dog satisfies a physical. I'm working pretty hard if we're hiking. It also is can be a spiritual experience for me, being close to nature, having time to reflect. In my case, with my faith, feeling close to God, I can make that also a time of prayer and meditation as I'm doing that. And sometimes I'll bring a friend, and so then I probably maybe a little less of the spiritual need is filled, but my social connection gets to be filled through that. So I do like to try to like stack my needs and my self care so that several things are being tended to at once. Um, Another thing with, and actually, I think what I'll do is I'm going to share my screen here and pull these tips up. So these are some of the tips that I have found to be really helpful. So we talked through creating the routine that works for you. The other thing which I really like is to start small. So sometimes it's just, I'm just going to add one little thing to my daily routine. Like maybe I'm going to add 5 minutes of breathing. When we wake up in the morning, it's really easy to just reach for our phones, check our social media, see our texts or emails. And before we know it, we're just like in triage, responding to different people or hopefully not, but sometimes comparing ourselves to others on social media, and that may not be the best start to our day. So, if even just saying, I'm going to give myself 5 minutes before I get out of bed, and I'm going to focus on breathing, taking some deep breaths. Maybe it's also, I'm going to think of three things that I am grateful for. A lot of research has shown lately that actually some of the biggest preventers or helps for depression are practicing gratitude and being in connection with others. So if we can start our day with gratitude, that can get our perspective set in the right place. And it's just a little thing. It's just a couple minutes. It can be less than 5 minutes. It could be 2 minutes, but just a minute to reflect, have some stillness before all the chaos of all the things starts our day. The next thing that this one talks about, as you can see here, is adding to your existing habits. So this gives the idea of like, well, this is talking about having a cup of coffee in the morning, or let's say you already have a routine that you know, like it feels good to you that you do every day. Like maybe it's um, when I get up, I always stretch, or I pet my dog, or I always like to have oatmeal first thing in the morning. Whatever it is, you can just add a little thing to it, and something simple. So maybe you're trying to work on eating less sugar. So maybe instead of 2 big spoonfuls of brown sugar, which I like to do in my oatmeal, maybe you do something healthier. Maybe you use stevia, or maybe you just put some blueberries or some fresh fruit in there, and just add that to it. Um, the next tip, which I really like, is this making swaps. Um, this one's really good for me. I tend to have my little guilty pleasures that distract me or comfort me. But this is talking about swapping maybe a guilty pleasure for like a not guilty pleasure. So I like this example actually. So instead of like grabbing a candy bar um, or maybe scrolling through social media, maybe instead you get out of the house and you walk for 10 minutes and get that feeling of your blood pumping, and that attends to your physical body. Um, the next one, plan ahead, can be really important. One thing I've noticed is I will try to get a routine going and I'll be really great for even a few weeks, but then something throws me off, whether I'm traveling or I have visitors come into town, or just my normal routine changes. Like maybe you go from summer to fall and kids are back in school, but also you have different things that you're attending to. Then that tends to throw me off for a few weeks, and then I have to start all over again. And that's accompanied by me feeling bad that why did I let that go? Anyway, so planning ahead can help. Planning ahead and knowing, okay, I know this is going to change. So this is how I'm going to build these routines and this self-care into my schedule. So, in the summer, if you get to sleep in a little bit more, and you're going to have to change your time to meditate or to exercise from 9 a.m. to 6 a.m. So just knowing that ahead of time and making those plans can really help you stay consistent, where you don't feel like, oh, I fell off of that. Now I'm feeling really bad. It's going to take me a while to build back up again. And then this one I love, and that's making time for things that you enjoy. And I think sometimes as adults, especially in my stage of life, you don't even know anymore what you enjoy. You haven't thought about it because you're so busy taking care of everyone else and working and all the things that you're doing that you don't, it feels like such a luxury to think about, well, what do I really love? What makes me really happy? So building that into your routine, and it doesn't have to have a certain amount of time. It's the time that you decide feeds your soul. So whether that's, I love to do community theater and that feeds my soul. So I like to do that and I make time for that. But sometimes what I really need is I just need a bubble bath, or I just need to sit outside in the moonlight and have some stillness. That's always been a huge source of comfort to me. So Pick something that really has brought you joy, that's easy for you to get to, or maybe that you need to work up to again. Um, and then when you are able to do that, reward yourself for those victories. When you're like, wow, I did it. I made time for myself for 5 days in a row to go on that walk or to reconnect with old friends that I haven't talked to for a while. Um, all of that can be really helpful. I'm going to stop sharing the screen now. Okay. And so then just not beating yourself up if you miss a day. That's something I work on a lot. I tend to be a little bit perfectionistic. So working on not being hard on ourselves if we fall off, but just saying, oh, but I know this helps me, so I'm going to get back on the horse. That can be really helpful. The other thing that's really good to do is to write out your routine on your actual calendar. If you write out those self care routines into your daily calendar, whether you use that on your phone, whether it's on your wall, wherever you have your personal calendar, if you put it in your calendar, it's official. So it's easier to commit to something that you don't just have in your mind, but that you put on your calendar, just like you would a doctor's appointment or a work appointment, or when you have to take your kids to their extracurriculars. But if you can schedule that in for yourself, it's a way for you to show yourself that I prioritize myself. I'm important enough that I'm putting this on my schedule. I'm committing to it, and I'm going to do it every day. So those are some things that have really helped me. As far as specifics, that's really up to you, and that's the beauty of it. But you can think of in these categories: mental, emotional, social, spiritual. What are the things? Oh, physical. What are the things that I like that feel good to me, and that I feel taken care of when I do? And this just slowly build one new thing into your routine as you go. You can even have a daily practice of which thing do I want to focus on today. But putting them in your calendar and having that set, I find is the best way to stick to it. And once you get into that habit, it feels easier and easier and starts to not feel so much like one more thing to do, but feels like, oh, I take care of myself. I feel good when I do this. I'm going to honor myself by doing this practice. Whether it is I want to call my sister twice a week, or I want to reconnect with my high school football teammate and see what's going on with him, and I'm going to do something like that each week. There's so many different ways we can do it, and it doesn't have to take a lot of time, but it can make a huge difference in how we feel, how we go about our lives, and in our ability to cope with all of the stressors that we already have to deal with. So I hope this was helpful. It certainly has been for me to look into it and get a little bit more deliberate myself about my daily routines and my self care. We hope you will come and see us here at Cache Valley Counseling. We would love to support you in all of these areas. And take care and hope you have a great day.